if anyone doesn't know, Anand was talking about even if Bijan Robinson ends up as a Hall of Fame player, that he was still a bad pick because running backs are lower positional value taken in the top 10. And I was thinking about blackjack. Do you guys play blackjack ever in casinos?
Absolutely. When I'm in Vegas, Alan, you find me at the blackjack table.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, Theo. If you're having 18 in front of you and the dealer is showing a 7, what's the process play? You have an 18 every single time. But what if you hit? What if you hit and you pull and you double down on that 18 and you pull a 3? You have 21, deal of flips, you have 17. It was the right decision. Bad process, right decision. In Anand's example, we already know that Bijan's a Hall of Fame player, right? So the process doesn't matter anymore. So that's where I think his logic was flawed, is that we already know the result in his theoretical example. Now, have Anand said this, if he said anything less than the Hall of Fame, Bijan was a bad pick, then it's a sound tweet. Theo, does that make sense?
Yes, I think that you took like umbrage with the Hall of Fame part of it, where if he has that big of a career, yeah. And I think that's a fair argument. I think Anand's big argument was it doesn't matter how a running back does because it was the incorrect process to use a top 10 pick on a running back. So I can sort of see both sides here. I think I know what side Matt Kelly is going to take.
Both sides. What are you guys talking about? This is
I mean, if the guy makes if the guy makes the Hall of Fame,
this is painfully obvious. This is like talking to someone who just stepped out of a time machine from the year 1200 and is insisting to you, no, the world is flat. It's like, we're past this, guys. We're past thinking running the ball has value, except for a handful of situations on the football field. Yes, there's a handful of situations on the football field where running the ball is a positive decision, right? Results in a potentially better outcome than throwing the ball. But more often than not, you want to throw the ball. And the best teams are telling us this, right? The best teams, the Bills, the Chiefs, what are they doing? They're leaning pass. They're not investing at all in the running game. Everyone talks about how smart Andy Reid is, how genius the Chiefs are. And they are so smart the way they've constructed the team and how they traded Tyreek Hill. It was a master stroke to rebuild on the fly. And yet they should have drafted a running back in the first round, actually. If they knew he would be a Hall of Famer, that was a mistake not to draft it. No, they're not. They're doing it right. They're doing the painful, obvious thing. It's so painfully obvious that the last thing you want to do is invest any kind of valuable capital in the running game. And I'm not just talking about running back. We're talking about nose tackle. We're talking about middle linebacker. We're talking about strong safety. That you shouldn't be using first-round picks on these guys, period. Now, with a strong safety, you could start to argue maybe in the third round, that's a good round to use for that. And then maybe in the fourth round, fifth round, middle linebacker, maybe seventh round, sixth round, seventh round, running back. Yeah, I'm not against drafting to improve the running game because it does matter on the margins. And it does help you in certain game situations. But guess who else helps you in certain game situations? Kickers, right? In fringe game situations, the quality of your kicker matters. But you don't draft a kicker like San Francisco in day 2.
Right.
Okay? That's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's just you've been indoctrinated by NFL broadcasters for so many years that the way to win in the league is to run the ball and stop the run. And that's just wrong. That's just incorrect. It is brainwashing and propaganda by big running game, right? The big running game propaganda has infiltrated your mind. Like, you are infected, Alan. It is a virus, and you need to go get treatment for it. And many NFL teams are still infected. Just like if you're an Atlanta Falcons fan and you have all these other needs and all these ways you could bolster the side of the ball that actually matters and drives wins and losses, which is the passing game, to see your team invest in a running back is so deflating. It doesn't matter if he goes to the Hall of Fame. It doesn't matter because a good, not great tackle would be better than a Hall of Fame running back.
I mean, Matt, it's the same franchise that took Kyle Pitts and then took Drake London and now does the trifecta with 3 big skill position players. They passed up quarterbacks to take Kyle Pitts, and they don't even utilize him.
Do you understand that you're actually worse off by bringing in a running back like Bijan Robinson? Do you know how damaging it is to the franchise? Because not only was their opportunity cost, right, where you could have had a great tackle, not just a good, you could have had a truly impactful edge rusher or tackle, and they blew it. Number one. Number two, now you give political cover to whatever coach and all their worst desires. What you are doing is enabling the worst desires and tendencies of head coaches and offensive coordinators saying, hey, here's an elite running back. You should run the ball more. So congratulations. You got a Hall of Fame running back and you just made your team worse. Harry Snowman in the chat making an incredible point. By the way, it's also a terrible use of first-round capital because it's going to set you up to have to overpay this guy or not, not pick up his fifth-year option. It's an awful choice. It's the same awful choice that the Giants had to face with Saquon. They're setting themselves up to make that, be in that prisoner's dilemma in 4 years. Thank you, Harry.
All you do is you fifth-year option, you franchise tag, and then you move on to the next guy. But in Anand's example, he said that even if that Bijan's a Hall of Famer. Now, I agree. If we don't know that, which we don't, it's a bad pick. But in his example, Bijan's a Hall of Famer. We have the answer in his fictitious example.
Right, but in your example, in your hypothetical, the other option is Sam Darnold.
Well, Darnold versus Barkley. The process bros, Theo, right? They wanted Darnold because you always take a quarterback there. But now that we know the answer, Barkley was the better pick. We already have the
First of all, the fact that you are diminishing the idea that quarterback over running back is the obvious move, that you would call people that think that process bros, is part of the propaganda. This is part of big running game propaganda. Then they label people that actually just have the facts bros. This is what you do. Hey, you like that video? Be sure to subscribe and activate those alerts so you get notified as soon as new videos drop. And be sure to check out playerprofiler.com. We have all the tools for you to dominate every type of fantasy league. We have a draft kit, Dynasty Deluxe, data analysis, DFS Dominator, and don't forget the player rankings to rule them all.